I actually know what I'm saying. I'm Danny Wallace and I am the Queen Bee and I am the host of The Big Festoon. The Big Festoon is the UK's biggest, fastest growing personal and business development event. We are actively inclusive and are seeking to get better every single time. The Big Festoon is unlike any other business event you have ever been to, and we want you to come along to the party. So what you need to do is go and grab your ticket and we will see you at the Big Festoon. Good morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Big Festoon then, but we're not at the Big Festoon. Not yet. 2 weeks and it will be Big Festoon Eve. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited and scared and overwhelmed and all the things in the run up to a big fucking event. That's exactly where I'm at right now. But I'm repping today. We've got my little earrings in. I always say this when I speak to you guys, but there's always something exciting going on. We've had some really cool talks with some really cool people this week over future events. So actually at the Big Festoon, we're going to be making some pretty big announcements. And we are going to need you lot to come along for the ride. So I'm really, really, really excited. But good morning. I just want to take a second as well. I know Fridays are for celebration, but I just want to take a little second, a little hot minute to celebrate the so far 12 people who have jumped into One Too Many and Be Heard. So those of you that have been wanting to work with me for quite some time, even though you know that we always launch after a big event. So we've got Be Heard is coming, which is my speaking event. It's my online interactive. You get to work with me directly for 10 weeks. I'm going to teach you everything I know about speaking, everything I know about confidence, everything I know about taking up space in the world and sharing your mission, your business, your message so that you can create more impact, income and influence, right? That is the whole premise of the thing, is to help as many of you as possible take up space, right? That's what I want. And what I've done and what I'm doing is me and Lisa are double bubbling. So One to Many is a program where you can learn how to generate recurring revenue via lots of different means within your business, particularly in the online space. So if you've got an offline business, you want to bring it online. If you haven't got a business and you want to create one, it covers all of those grounds. It covers those people who are ready. They might be doing, full-time work. They want to create a side hustle that's going to escalate into something that can help them remove themselves from full-time employment and work for themselves, much the same way I did. And it makes sense for me in my head that if you're doing that, then taking up space and shouting about what it is that you're doing, that you're selling, really getting to grips with the mission, the reason why you're doing it, so that you can super connect with people, so that you can network really effectively, really efficiently, so that you can speak, if you wanted to, from stage about what it is that you do, on live stream about what it is that you want to do. Those two things are like a perfect fusion of like superpowers. It's like the Avengers assembling. So you do One Too Many in conjunction with doing Be Heard and create that snowball of momentum, and then working with me and Lisa directly. So we've teamed up to do that. And so far, in the first 24 hours alone, 12 of you have decided that you're going to come and work with me, which I'm very excited about. So what I wanted to say in the first instance is, I know there are a lot of you out there that are waiting for the doors to be heard to open. Now, this isn't the big package. This isn't the one where you come and speak with me at the Big Festoon and you get all of the asset stats, because that's like £15,000 worth of gig, right? But the program is my most sought after program. Be Heard is the most sought after program, and the one that lots of you wait for. Or when is it that you open the doors to Be Heard again? Well, the answer is we open the doors to Be Heard in April, but you can get your place now, and for the same price, get One Too Many with Lisa Johnson. That's wild. That's insane value. So if you were going to do the two and you're thinking, oh, yeah, but I don't want to do One Too Many this time, or I'm going to do Be Heard this time, you can do both at the same time when you sign up through my link. And you can do that by paying full, or you could do that over a payment plan that makes it really, really super accessible for both things. So if ever you were thinking, I want to work with Danny and I want to work with Lisa, now is your time. Like, I'm not sure when cart closes. It'll either be at the end of this week or Monday. It'll be one or the two. Because the cart's only ever open for a week. Because then we get started, right? So if you've been thinking about working with me and Lisa, you can do both. And if you pay in full, not only do you get, it closes on Monday at 10 p.m., just so you know. Not only do you get Be Heard, that program where you run alongside, which is worth 1995 in it, 1997 in and of itself. You'll also get a ticket to the Big Festoon. You'll also get a ticket to Ideas Fest, which is like Glastonbury for business. And we'll be working with some huge brands as a part of Ideas Fest, as well as a significant IATQB presence. That's all I can say right now. That's all I can say right now. Yes, I will be speaking, but we have a significant IATQB presence and you can get involved with it. So yeah, that is some big announcements that are coming this way, but you definitely want to be involved with Ideas Fest this year. It's the 11th and 12th of September. And we'll be working with some huge brands, some huge movers and shakers to really push our community forward and really push that conversation around inclusion and business forward. So super, super exciting things ahead. You can get involved if you are on Pay in Full for Lisa Johnson's One Too Many. Not one too many, one too many. So yeah, that's it. That's the first thing. And I want to tell you a little story this morning. I want to tell you a little story about risk. I want to tell you a little story about feeling the fear and doing it anyway and what dreams may come. Because I think a lot of us live in fear. A lot of us like skirt around the edges of something with only dipping our toe in and not going sort of whole body in. We'll half-arse something. And we can't half and arse anything. We have to whole arse things. And I think the examples and the stories that I've got to tell are really great examples of whole arse winnings. So to begin with the end in mind, IATQB is 5 years old this year. We turned over, so from when we started to now, well, a few months back, just before Christmas, we hit £1 million in revenue from when we first started. So that's in 4 years, we've hit £1 million in revenue from when we first started. Now, for any tiny business with just a couple of people running it, that is no small feat. And bear in mind that 5 years ago, I didn't have a pot to piss in. I was scraping by, doing lots of gigs. Those of you that were following me at the time, it was really funny on my Facebook memories just the other day. I was trying to sell 150 mascaras for the cosmetics company Unique as part of a multi-level marketing program so that I could afford to fix my car because I couldn't use my car to get to gigs. So I was trying to hustle mascara and cosmetics in order to fix my car in order to get to gigs. And the gigs that I was doing, so I was a singer in a former life. I'm a singer now. I haven't stopped being a singer. I just don't gig the same anymore because I just don't have the time to. And the gigs that I was doing, even though the work I loved was what we call low value, high volume work, right? And going into that, so we rewind again, going into that was a massive risk. So 10 years this year, I've been working for myself. So 10 years ago, I came out of corporate, which is shockingly frightening in terms of how quick time has moved on. But 10 years ago this year, I was fired from a corporate job where there was no room for maneuver. And also, one of the things that I realized is that even though I'm incredibly intelligent, contrary to popular belief, even though I'm incredibly intelligent and articulate and I know lots about lots and I'm kind and I'm all these things, because of the things that I'd experienced, I was not particularly employable. And I was in a position where I knew what leadership was and I wanted to lead, and the people that I was working with wanted me to manage. And I didn't want to be a manager. That's not what I wanted to be. I've never wanted to be a manager. I've never wanted to tell people what to do. I've wanted to identify within them their strengths and give them the opportunity to play to those strengths. Now, because I'm an ideas person, that's quite difficult because there's lots of details and constraints and results that are needed to be driven within a team that wants to be managed. They're not used to being led because it is a culture, but leadership is a culture. Yeah. And where I was, management was the job that I had. And that infuriated me because I'd be like, I could see the potential in this team, and they kind of like baby birds because of culturally, that's like how the whole thing was set up. Wanted to be drip fed, felt everything was, everything was too much. If I was to ask anything extra, even though me, from a leadership point of view, would have worked really, 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 really hard in order to get the job done, I would never ask anybody to do anything I couldn't do. As my job as manager, it wasn't my job to do certain jobs. So it didn't make sense for me to know how to do all of those jobs. It made sense for me to know what all the functions were and how they fit together. And that's what happens in a leadership role, is that you'll know what the other roles are, but it's not your job to know the ins and outs of that role and how to do it. Now, you might argue with me on that, but that's just kind of where I'm at from a leadership point of view. My job is to see the whole picture and then move the correct cogs in place. I don't understand finances up and down and inside out. So guess what? I've got, in the first instance, an incredible business manager, and then I'm bringing in a CFO to help look after the finances. It's not my area of expertise. Technically, things aren't my area of expertise. Like, Wallace helps me set up a lot of what you see technically. And so when I was in a position where I was managing, I hated it. It did me fucking head in because I'm like this bundle of potential, and then I wasn't able to fulfill that potential because it wasn't the right environment for me. And so with that in mind, essentially I was managed out. There's a lot to be said about that particular situation, but I turned up and did as little as I could for as much money as I could get. Lots of us do it. Lots of us do it, especially when you don't really care. If you don't think people care about you, then you're not going to care about the thing. And I think what we've created in IATQB is this very deep, centered sense of we have an overall mission. We know what our values are. We're all pulling towards the same thing. We can see the big picture. We can see what we're moving towards. And as such, yeah, I've got the best team in the world now. I don't manage. Well, I have to sometimes, but for the most part, my job is leadership and key person of influence. When I came out of corporate, it was really scary. I'd never worked for myself before. I didn't understand how it worked. And I was petrified. I didn't have the capital that I needed in the first instance to get set up. And actually, what I did is I started to research. When I knew things weren't kind of going right at work, I started to research like startup loans. What does that look like? Because my credit was shot. For anybody that knows the story, that I'd not long since been homeless. I'd not long since been sofa surfing with my two kids. I'd not long since experienced significant domestic abuse. I'd not long since experienced all that. And. So I wasn't in a financial position at that time to be able to buy PA equipment, to be able to buy a mixing desk, the laptop, the driving lessons, the car that I needed. And this is not talking about flash car. We're talking about an MOT to MOT car. Let me know in the comments if you know what I mean by an MOT to MOT car. Like, you just want a car that's going to get you through the fucking year, that's going to get you around the corner, that's going to get you to where it is that you need to go, and pray to God that you do. And I remember buying a car of a car park in Formby for 500 quid. I didn't know what I was checking for. I just had 500 quid in my pocket. It was a yellow car. We called him Jeff. It was a Suzuki Wagon R, and it was just what I needed, small enough engine for me to get the insurance. I've just passed my test to get me on the road. So I was supported by Startup Loans Company, which is now the British Business Bank, which is brilliant now because I actually go and speak at the British Business Bank for their new ambassadors and their new people that they bring through their programs. It's a very lovely full circle position to be in. So anyway, I got this startup loan, got everything that I needed. That was scary, but I knew that I could hustle. Like, hard work wasn't an issue for me. I could hustle the gigs. I just needed the means to get to the gigs. And this has always been the case for me. Hustled the gigs in order to I've hustled to get what I needed to get in order to go where I need to go. Hang on a second. Yep, I was there, even using fumes, praying I would get to work. Yes, absolutely. I had bottles and bottles of water in the car because guess what? I bought it and whatever it is had broken, and I was having to fill the radiator up all the time with water. Emily, I have an MLT to MLT card. It passed yesterday with not too much cash to pay out. Praise Jesus, Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy. Congratulations, Emily. I know that feeling well. Amy, I'm a bus wanker because I know MLT to MLT cars, and it's just too much of a palaver. Yeah, absolutely. And if you can get around, then get around using public transport. It's better for the environment. So for me and gigging, that's not something I could do because I had to have all of my PA equipment with me. In order for me to get the gigs, I had to be able to say, yes, I'm completely self-contained. I'll turn up with my speakers, I'll turn up with my microphone, I'll turn up with my mixing desk, my playback, everything. I'm completely self-contained. Pick me up, put me anywhere, and I can do a gig. So that's what I got set up for. And the problem is, in order to make any kind of money, I needed to do a lot of gigs, but I couldn't do too many gigs because that would affect tax credits. So I was having to get tax credits because of the position that I was in, and there's no shame in getting assistance. So I was getting tax credits at the time, but if I was to earn too much, they would take the whole lot away, which would mean my bills wouldn't get paid. And that kind of risk was frightening. And what I had to do was I had to earn more than the tax credits that I was receiving regularly in order for me to be able to come off them and build the business that you can see today. You know, we've turned over 1 million in revenue in just 4 years. We're going to turn over 1 million just this year alone because, hey, guess what? Just so you know, I didn't know this. This is the whole thing. Is once you know how to make 1 million, it's not as slow to make your next. So we've learned along the way what it's taken us to get there, and then we learn what it is to take us to the next level. And it, that next level, we know what to avoid, or we already have foundations in place. So the next million is like easier to get to. That's wild for me, considering what we're just talking about, which is I was doing Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night gigs, 2 lots of 45-minute sessions. I go up and down the country. I would cry. I would be that tired and still didn't earn enough for me to be able to come off tax credits. That's how hard I was having to work. So when people think, oh, your job is glamorous as a singer, it's not. It's hard work. And I always used to say it's more of a driving job than it was a singing job. Like the singing was a pause in the middle of the driving and the lifting and the lugging and all of that. Yeah, my work ethic has never been an issue. So yeah, I died on the M1 and it was terrifying. Me, when my car broke, Fiona, I'm on universal credit. I've been looking at how much I need to bring in to cover my bills without it. Scary times. Yes. And it's a risk. And also, there's transitionary amounts that you can earn. Now, I don't know anything about that now because I'm a few years out of that. But I also know that it takes a significant amount of work in the first instance when you're starting a business to push what I call the stationary car. You've got to push the stationary car to get the momentum going, right? And for anybody, any of you that are looking at things like one-to-many, race to recurring revenue, that are looking at online businesses, it's never a quick thing. It can be dependent on whether you're willing to do what is needed to be done in order to get the rocket off the floor. So if you think about, you've got a rocket, and in order to get it off the floor, it needs a whole heap of fuel to get it off the floor and get it into orbit, much less than what it needs to get back down to earth again, right? It needs a whole heap of rocket fuel to get it up. Oh, your Ford C Max died on the M1. Yeah. And mate, I tell you what, breaking down on those motorways, and it happened a lot. Again, for anybody watching your lives, like, will remember me sat on laybys and hard shoulders with my broken down car saying, "Right, you lot, pray for Dan, pray for Jeff, pray for Gru," whatever the car was at the time, pray for Bruce. I've always had boy cars. I've got a Barry at the minute. So I was tired, really tired. And I remember thinking, I'm glad I get to work for myself. That was great. And it was good having the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday days off when everyone else was at work. I could go out for a leisurely lunch. I could go out and I could have not with a school run, but I could go back to bed during a work day and that would feel really naughty. And that would kind of balance out how hard I was working at those long weekends. But it was too much. It was far too much. And I wasn't getting everything I possibly could out of myself for out of these gigs. I was singing the same 2 lots of 45-minute sets. I was wearing the same clothes. I was eating really unhealthily. Like, I would get to the end of a gig and not remember all the songs that I've sung because I've just sung them that many times that I wasn't having to think. And bearing in mind, I'm a creative, bearing in mind, I want to make things happen. I want to help people. It's not just like I understood that I was making people feel good out of these gigs for sure, but I was struggling and reconciling myself with wanting more out of myself, want to be able to give more back, right? So I went out searching for mentors, and the first mentor I came across was a guy called Brad Burton. And Brad was a mentor for me at the time, and him and his team were so helpful for me at the time and helped me access one of my very first, outside of the Tony Robbins space, personal and business development events. And it was called Now What Live. And I'd come across it online and I'd got in touch with his partner at the time in business, Pippa. And I was like, I know. In fact, I seen a live and I was like, I really want to go to this thing. I've got no petrol. I've got no tank in. I've got nothing in the tank. I've got a slow puncture, but I really feel like I need to go to this event. I want to be a speaker. That's what I want to be. I want to be a public speaker. I know I can. I've got 20 years experience in the performance space. I've got 20 years experience in corporate and training. Like, I know I can be a speaker. But I just need to know how. Right? So if you remember the show up, wise up, rise up cycle, I have no problem showing up. And if you think rising up is the goal, then the gap is that I need to know something. Let me just go over that again for any of you that are new to this concept. In order to rise up, whatever goal it is that you want, it might be to get a better car so you don't have an MLT to MLT car. It might be, for me, one of my huge goals was to move out of the really unsafe area that I was in into the area that I'm in now. And I just couldn't see a way out of that. I'll show up for it all day long. I'll go to the opening of an envelope. I'll go to the closing of a toilet. But if that's not the wisest thing to do, there's no point doing it. As Brad would say, I'd be huffing and puffing and saying nothing. And so one of the things that I saw that this event, Brad had done a live and he'd said, if finances make it prohibitive for you to come right now, for you to pay in full, get in touch with the team. We will try our best to make it happen. And I always pay this forward with my events. So I always say a couple of weeks before, if finances are prohibitive for you to come to one of my events, please get in touch with the team. We'll see what we can make happen. And what we do is we do things like payment plans now. We do sponsored tickets, trying to make it so if you were in a position like me and you just needed a hand up, you just needed a leg in, whatever it was, a leg up, a hand in, whatever. You needed some help. He made it so that I was able to access that. And that changed the course of my thinking because putting myself in front of Brad and the other speakers on that day allowed me to see what was possible. Could I stand up next to these people and be a stronger speaker? Yes, absolutely. Yes, I could. So I just needed to know the how. How do you get the gigs? How right? And so Brad took me under his wing and I engaged a leg in, a leg over. I don't know. So, and Brad took me in as his mentee at the time. I learned from his wonderful community. People that I met in that community are some of my best friends to this day. Anna Fox, who's my right-hand woman, my lady in waiting, assistant to the stars, is my assistant today off of the back of that. You know, she saw in me what we were creating in IATQB and has just been with us from the start. And I met her through there. Now then, I wanted to move out into the wider business field. So I was like, okay, so I want to be a speaker, but that's not going to earn me a lot of money. This is going to be like swapping a gig for a gig. And when you're first starting, when you're speaking, you don't necessarily get paid huge amounts of money. So you see speakers out there getting paid like 20 grand, 50 grand, whatever. That's cool, but you have to build to that. Right. I'm still building to that, even though I'm smashing now like multi 4-figure gigs, sometimes 5-figure gigs. You have to work up towards that. You don't just say, oh, like for example, I've trained with Danny now. I can go and charge £50,000 to speak. I mean, you could give it a go, but you might struggle. And so what I wanted to do was create a way to help more people more broadly. So I was like, right, let's have a look for who else is making money, real great money in this space that I know that I can tap into. I'm already live streaming every day. I'm already performing. I already know all my talks. I already know all of that. Lisa Newport, this is a beautiful kind of round, like whole circle moment. You probably won't remember. I absolutely do, Lisa. I don't forget that day at all. I don't forget any part of that day at all. I remember having lunch with you. I remember Stacey Calder. I remember Mike. I remember walking down the stairs with Diane Ivory at the end of the day. And Diane Ivory remains one of my best friends. And her giving me a card, and her card to this day is still in my purse because I knew that I'd just changed my life. I don't know how I'd changed my life that day, but I knew I'd changed my life. I remember every single bit of that day, and normally my memory's pretty sketchy. So, yeah, I was talking about becoming a speaker. Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I did. So, so after that, I'd started to engage in that community, started to sort of more broadly look at things. I was still gigging, I was still flogging mascara, I was still doing the lives, putting my makeup on, all of this sort of stuff. What I needed to know then is, how do I make money in the online space? Because if I've got a community, which I did, I had a community, I had a whole hundreds of people at the time were watching what I was doing and rooting for me. And I'd put a gig on and they'd come to a gig and it was really cool. But I was like, but what can I do to make this even more, right? How do I make this even better? How do I help the people that are coming to me and saying, you've helped me so much, you've inspired me so much? And I'm like, how? What is it? And so I found Lisa Johnson on the internet, and she showed me how to make money. Now, long story short, because I've got a one-to-one that I'm just bobbing into in a sec, because I'm getting all my speakers ready. So long story short, I put my last 60 odd quid, 69 quid, I think it was, on the line, to get on a flight. Lisa, I'd called Lisa. I said, can you come and speak at my event, or can you come and attend my event? I'm doing an event. It was like the launch of my coaching business at the time. I do that because I was doing like life coaching, because I just wanted to help people, business coaching. And she went, I really can't make it. I'm in Chicago. I was like, right, I'm really sorry. I need to tell you now, we're going to be friends. I know that sounds really weird, but I adore your work. I think what you're doing is brilliant. I love watching your journey. I want to know how I can serve you. Let's be friends. And she was like, yeah, all right then. And she's written about this in her book, and we talk about this all the time because it really is like one of those stories that you tell. It's like one of those kind of life trajectory stories, like the one with Brad, like the one with coming out of work. And so I said to Lisa, like, I'm broke, but I'm really hardworking. I just need to know how to do the things. So anyway, she'd put out a status. I'm going over to Malta in a few weeks' time. I've got some air miles to use up. Anyone fancy it? She couldn't do this now. And so I was like, fuck, I'm going to find a way to get there. I wonder how much a flight to Malta is. If it's £70, I will go. It was £69. I bought the ticket. No idea where I was staying. Close to the time, I did a few gigs. I hustled, got a couple of £100 in my back pocket. Couldn't afford to really eat while I were over there. Completely relied on like a wing and a prayer. But whilst I was there, the people that were there were very much like this community. They saw me and the potential that I had, and they all like sprung to action, and they was like, right, well, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this. Like, your story is amazing, Danny. You need to share this more. It's a no brainer that you're going to do well. You just need to know what to do. And Lisa, I said to Lisa, like, I just need to know what to do. And she went, well, how much do you want to earn? And I went, 7 grand. I want to earn 7 grand. And I could not comprehend earning £7,000 in any kind of short space of time. £7,000 to get onto your mastermind so I can learn how to make even more money. And she went, all right, okay, do this, and this. Very quickly, map me out a launch. Bearing in mind that she already knew that I had an audience and all of this sort of stuff. She went, you might make more, but give this a go. Anyway, so I launched Be Heard 1.0. and made £16,000. And this is just a few weeks later, just implementing a couple of things that she teaches. I then utilized half of that, reinvested it, went on the Wave Mastermind and did one-to-many as part of that. And now every launch that we do 6 figures every single launch. And that's through implementation and taking risk and allowing myself to trust myself. The horse that I'm backing is me. I know Abby says this all the time. Abby Horn, one of my dear friends from Rissskkkkk. Remember, when you're taking risks in business, the horse that you're backing is you. Investing money and hoping that once you've spent that money, the money is going to make you the money. That's not how it works. The money gets you access to the information. Then it's up to you to show up, wise up, and then rise up. The investment is the first thing. That's the risk. That's the okay, right, okay, so we're going to do this. It is then up to you to go and get that information, absorb that information, and then implement that information for it then to bear fruit, for you then to be able to go back and assess, okay, what worked well, what didn't work well, where are the gaps? And that's what we've done on speed since then. And that's how we've created 1 million in 4 years. Now, we've gone from creating 1 million in 4 years to having a business plan and a solid team to be able to do that within the next 12 months. And this is how it works. So if any of you are out there right now, sitting on the edge and going, oh, I really want to do one-to-many, and think that you're going to put a couple of grand on the table and magic happen, that's not going to happen. That's going to give you access to the information that you need and the support that you need and the community that you need. It is then up to you to absorb that, take action, and you can only do well. It's a recipe for success. If you show up, you've got to turn up to the things, you've got to learn what you need to learn, and you will create what you need to create as long as you do those two things. Intentional action, excellent information, fabulous community can only generate success. And that is my little story this morning for you, my darlings, on risk and the benefits of taking risks when the horse that you're backing is you. When you know that you're going to turn up, when you know that you're going to absorb the information, when you're hungry, when you've got your back against the wall, when you've got fire in your belly, go and take that action, do the thing. And that's not me just selling one-to-many to you or selling Be Heard to you. This is anything that you've got your mindset on right now. Anything at all. Wherever you're at, whether you're in business, whether you're not in business, whether this is a relationship, whether this is your kids, whatever it is, it's all well and good getting the information or getting access to the information, which many people fall at the first hurdle. They go, oh, I'll pay this money, I'll get access to this information. That information sits there. They do fuck all with it. Part of Wise Up Wednesday today for me, for you, hopefully, is to fire that up in your belly a little bit and go out there and go and take action. Go and get the information. Go and do the things that you need to do when you've got that information that work for you. Repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. Are you doing one-to-many? Are you asking me, am I doing one-to-many? I'm a partner in one-to-many. So if you do one-to-many through my link, then you can also learn public speaking with me as well so that you can double bubble the momentum. But if you do need the link, we'll pop the link in here. I'm off. I've got a one-to-one now with one of my incredible speaking clients who I'm helping get ready for the Big Festoon. If you haven't got your ticket to the Big Festoon yet, two ways you can get it now. One is go to thebigfestoon.co.uk, go and buy your bloody ticket, or you can join up, pay in full for one-to-many, get Be Heard, get a ticket to the Big Festoon and a ticket to Ideas Fest. That is pretty decent as deals go. Right, I love you. Have the best of Wednesdays. I will see you on Friday for more showing up, wising up, and rising up. I'm going to leave you with a cheeky little video for the Big Festoon.
As a guest speaker here today, the team have been absolutely fantastic, so accommodating, making me feel so welcome. I've absolutely loved the event today. I think the highlight was being on stage with Danny. She's a fantastic interviewer. I think the difference and the standout for me of the event today is that it's so much knowledge and information, but it's definitely more relaxed. My key takeaway from Be Inspired Live is that it is such a beautiful community here. You can tell that everyone is so welcome. Even if it was your first time here, you would absolutely feel at home around all these fantastic people.